This episode is supported by Battlefilm.com.
Good morning and welcome to the Weekender. It's gaming time. Yeah, I've got too much energy for this morning. I really have. Okay.
You told me you were off Relentless.
I am. I have cut sugar completely out of my diet. Okay. And what I have found is by cutting the sugar out, and I've cut out most of the carbs and stuff for a while, I've actually found my energy levels, instead of going way up and down like this here, I'm not as high as necessarily as I've been before, but they're kind of more stable.
Okay.
Kind of more stable. So get used to it. I have a fine cup of tea here, no sugar, and I'm all set for a morning of gaming greatness.
Oh, you do that, I'm going to stay on the roller coaster.
Well, joining me on this morning of gaming greatness is, of course, Ben on the screen.
Hello.
And Justin in the chair. Right, unfortunately, we have no John's tool for you.
Yeah.
John will not produce his tool this week because poor John got sick.
He caught the plague.
Was it John that got sick or the tool that got sick?
No, John caught the plague.
Oh, John caught the plague.
Possibly from the tool.
Possibly from the tool. Anyway, I sincerely apologize. We were all looking forward to getting our hands on John's tool this week.
Yeah.
It ain't going to happen. But we will strap him down next week to ensure that he does produce a magnificent tool for next week instead.
Okay.
However, Warren Meets Matt is on the way. Right. In this episode, we're giving away 5 copies of Shadow Games, a card game based in the universe of Guild Ball.
Yes, because we have had the guys from Steamforged across this entire week, and I've been having a blast with the guys playing some games.
Absolutely. So stay tuned to a little later in the show where Justin and Jamie and Bryce from Steamforged are going to be talking about the game, and also visit BC4 on Monday, because on Monday we're going to have a Let's Play where Justin is going to get stuck into this to show you how it plays. But if you want to be in with a chance of winning one of 5 copies of this great little game, okay, all you have to do, you know the score by now, all you have to do is comment here on bc4.com on YouTube. While you're on YouTube, will you do me a favor and hit the like button? We don't often ask for that, but if you hit the like button, and there's apparently another thing that you have to do now, which is you have to ding my dong.
Oh, the bell.
Yes, there's a bell. Apparently, it's not enough to subscribe anymore.
You now have to like and ding your dong.
Now you have to like, or now you have to subscribe and ding my dong. Okay.
Do you have to like dinging the dong?
It's better if you do like dinging the dong.
Okay.
But please do consider dinging my dong. It's up there somewhere, or no, it's down there somewhere, isn't it? So yeah, it's down here. Ding the dong, please. Apparently, it makes a hell of a difference.
And suddenly, you just made a meme for YouTube all over the world.
We're gonna ding that dong hard, Justin.
Yeah.
I have spent the last week going around all my favorite channels dinging their dong hard.
Fair enough.
They deserve it.
Yeah.
They deserve a good hard dong dinging. Right. So comment on bc4.com, comment on YouTube, or comment on this video on Facebook, and we'll pick 5 random winners, and you're going to get a great little game in the post. Couldn't be better. Right, we have a winner for... let me get this. It weighs a ton. Oh, Justin, you tell them what it is.
Yeah, so cut to my camera so I can show them here. Right, so this is the Battlefilm X-Pack. This is a new board game transport system from the guys over at Battlefilm. It can carry 2 major board games, and I'm not kidding when I say this thing can hold a ton weight. So we have a winner because we were giving one away last week, and our winner is from bc4.com, and it is the Painting Bozo. Get your prize claim in on bc4.com, and we will get this out to you ASAP.
Yes. So there you have it. That's the X-Pack.
You had to pick the 2 heaviest board games to put in there, didn't you?
Right. Also, major reminder for you. This past week, we have been running the incredible Relic Knights week.
Yes.
Now, for Relic Knights in a nutshell, if you want to know, because at this stage, you want the elevator pitch. So as someone from the outside been looking in, Relic Knights is a game for you that is completely different from most of the other games out there, okay? It has a strong anime flavor, a really strong anime flavor. If you're into your anime, you've got to check this out.
Excuse me.
Bless you. The defining thing of Relic Knights for me is the incredible dynamicness of the gameplay. So there's no dice. It uses a kind of like a card track. And what we're seeing in the comments and from watching the videos is the movement of this game is so dynamic. You know, they're moving around, jumping, pushing, being slapped around.
If you like those epic fight scenes where you have a hero jumping in, punching someone in the face, jumping 10 feet back, flying in the air, and then doing a spinning heel kick to a random person, go for it.
All in the one move.
Yeah.
It is incredible. It's a very, very different kind of game. It's also got great support coming up for organized play.
Yep.
The guys behind Ninja Division are totally committed to the game. So please take a moment to check out the demo game, which will be linked here. The demo game is the key piece of content from the themed week.
Yeah.
If you watch the demo game, if you like what you see, we have loads of other content on all of the factions, about the world, and stuff like that there. But check out the demo game.
There was a couple of people asking me which of the factions I was going to go for.
Yeah, which one would you go for?
Star Nebula Corsairs. Who doesn't love space pirates?
Space Pirates. Anime Space Pirates.
Anime space pirates. Yes.
Yeah.
Big cannons.
Now, the other thing that you will want to do while you still have a chance, you've got another week or so to do this.
Yeah.
There were prizes, okay? So 4 people are going to win 2-player starter bundles, so you and a friend can completely have everything you need to get into the game.
Yep.
We have a star prize though. One person is going to win a mega 2-player starter bundle with expanded forces.
Yep.
And you will get to work with the design team at Ninja Division on creating a new character for the Relic Knights universe.
I wish I could win that prize. I would love to create a character in this world.
Well, this is kind of like your money can't buy prizes now,
exactly.
okay? So, like I said, for me, the hub of the entire week was that demo game. You spend a few minutes or whatever watching Justin and the incredible John Cadis from Ninja Division. You will fall in love. Men, females, animals have been swooning all week over John and his silky tones.
Oh yeah.
Oh baby, he's like the smoothest Bruce Campbell you'll ever see. He's just great. Go and check out that demo game because believe me, it's a game you want to see, so as you know whether you want it in your life. You have to check it out. So
once you see
time.
it, you're pretty much definitely going to want it in your life.
Yeah,
it's a given for me. I took one look at it and was just
not everybody's into their anime though. Okay,
maybe so, but
you know, so it's and I can relate to that. Not everybody is into their anime, so but you know, check it out because whether you're into the anime or not, the mechanics of this game are just like blow you away, kind of inspiring. You know, there's innovation in this game that will just blow your socks off.
Yeah.
So you have been warned. Go and check it out. Finally, update. I am so sorry. But all of the Flames of War 4th edition bootcamp tickets actually sold out backstage.
Within 24 hours.
Yeah, so I don't have any to open up to you guys on front stage. I apologize for that. I thought I might have 1 or 2. There is a possibility I might have one German place left. Possibly. I'm not sure. It's just the way I'm jigging space and stuff like that at the moment in it. I might be able to create one more German space, possibly. Right. If that's the case, I will put it out front stage on a first come first serve basis. But I'll talk a little bit more about the boot camp because we're going to be looking at a bit of Flames of War stuff very shortly. Right. Before we get into the meat and the potatoes of the show, it's time for that segment that makes me sexy. It's time for Warren Meets Matt. Warren Meets Matt. I have a great one. Huh? This is, I'm calling it the 5 minutes to think about, Matt. Right? Because I pretty much guarantee you that a load of you out there, after you spend about 5 minutes thinking about this, you will go and order one. Right? Right? This is the wooden floor mat from Deep Cut. And I think it is flipping genius. Right? Absolute genius.
what I love about this, Matt, is it really it kind of encourages you to think inside the room. Forget about outside the box. This makes you think about inside the room.
Okay.
This, Matt, I think it'd be perfect for D&D. Your big kind of castle layouts and stuff like that there.
Yeah, with your walls and stuff. Your floor matches.
Let me show you something, right? Yeah, imagine, now these are ruins.
Yeah.
But, imagine laying out your castle walls or things like that there.
And you do your corridors and stuff. And the floor matches all the way through.
Floor matches all the way through.
Clever.
Other things that I think it would be good for. Saga for Viking Hall brawls.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Volsung. Okay. Volsung, you grab some of this stuff here.
Yeah.
Right?
And you're on a very, very large pier, maybe?
No. What you have is the beginnings of some kind of a factory where you're building these bad boys.
So actually do it as a massive internal building.
It's all about thinking inside.
Scale. Yeah.
But I have another one that'll totally blow your mind. So for all you guys that love playing Freebooter's Fate or the upcoming Blood and Plunder, right? Get yourself some black foam core.
All right.
Cut out a boat shape. Put the foam core down to black it out, and then you're left with a huge boat shape that you can play out battles on the boat.
Or we'd use it as a dance mat.
Yeah, body popping. Yeah. But I just love it. Now let's talk a little bit about the detail of it. Getting down, the resolution is lovely. But more importantly than the resolution is the beautiful color modulation in this. You can see the spot lamps, where lights breaking through, because it could have been, a mat like this could have been a disaster. Because it could have been just really boring and really repeating. Whereas something like this, just the way they've done this, Matt, and changed the texture, changed the lighting environments and stuff of it, that looks basically like a big bot sent from God. Oh!
Yeah.
It's just great. It's just great.
When you're talking about the repeating look of it, they've really broken it up well because they've actually changed where the grain and the knots of the wood are.
All the grain, all the knots. It's hard. It's hard going to pick a repeating texture in this at all.
Yeah.
But for me, it is the 5-minute mat. It's the mat that if you guys spend 5 minutes just thinking about the possibilities of how you might use this in your games. Imagine a big battle arena for Guild Ball, taking place in an indoor arena.
You could stick it into the proving ground, maybe, yeah.
Imagine a big training ground for War Machine, where jacks are facing off against each other inside a kind of a training ground type thing.
Or a testing facility.
Mm-hmm. Even for the likes of 40K. Because as we have seen with the 40K movie, okay, the what do you call the new one that they're kind of working on? Not the 40K movie. There is no 40K movie, but the Inquisitor animated movie. Yeah.
Everything's really ornate, yeah.
Everything's really ornate, and you get those beautiful wooden floors and things like that. I can imagine in the halls of Terra that there could be, big gigantic expanses of parquet flooring or something like that there. Yeah. So, it's so much more versatile than what you first think. And it changes the narrative of the games in your mind because you start to think of other kinds of strange things that you can do with it. I just love it. And the terrain that you'd buy for it, or the terrain that you would make for it, is totally different from anything else you might do. Imagine you could have... what do you call the game from TT Combat? The Venetian game? No, the Venetian game.
Carnivale.
Carnivale.
Well, you can play Home Raiders on this too.
You could play Home Raiders on it, but the idea with Home Raiders is you play it on the shelves and stuff.
Run scale, yeah.
Right, but Well, imagine Carnivale inside a big palatial palace hall
Possibly.
type thing, But you could buy wardrobes and things like that there,
Again, you
and
could
furniture,
do-
and they could be bouncing over it and jumping around.
The way I would do it is I
Unbelievable.
would do it as like a dungeon crawler for Carnivale then, where you come in at one end, all of this is just parquet flooring, right? And then as you explore the different rooms, it builds and grows, and you're adding mazes and stuff to it.
You could, or like I said, what if it was just one big banquet hall, and you were bouncing from table to table and jumping off wardrobes or cupboards or all
Possibly.
kinds of things?
It's the thing with all wargaming.
It's so
only
much
limit-
you can do.
The only limit is your imagination.
Yes. Another thing for it.
Yep.
Okay. Now, this is starting to go to extremes a little bit.
After what you just talked about, you're talking about. Oh, I'm listening for this.
But
Right?
this could be a really good foundation for a lake town. Okay? Where you actually go and grab me a few of the foreground fantasy buildings there.
Yeah.
Okay? And I'll grab a couple of these. So if you wanted, you could build your lake town, because lake town and places like that can build up in kinds of layers. Okay? Now, what I would be tempted to do for a lake town type thing is cut out water pieces. I wouldn't cut my mat up because I want my mat to be as versatile as possible. So what I would do is I would cut squares or patches of water out of another kind of blue material or something like
Yeah,
that,
you know the stuff we used for the
and
Infinity
put it
Wars?
down. Yeah.
For the nice river section, put that down. Yeah.
Yeah, go and check out the Infinity Boot Camp coverage. We showed how to use it for that.
Yeah.
But it's just so versatile, but in a constrained kind of a way. And I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but it is a case of it unlocks your imagination in a way that you start to think, myself and my friends could play games that are just so different. They just feel so different. They start to feel contained and stuff like that there.
It's a cool idea.
I love it because it's the kind of mat that unless you spent the 5 minutes thinking about the possibilities of it, you probably wouldn't buy it. But I challenge you, spend 5 minutes just thinking about what you could do with that in your favorite games and post them in the comments below. Because I'd love to get even more ideas for it because I love it.
Well, what I'd be tempted to do, a Western board with this.
Yeah.
Because what you do is, you take your sand, sprinkle out your trackways, and lay your buildings in between, and then that's all on raised wood platforms.
Yeah, you could do that. It's just so many different things you could do with it. Imagine having a big Wild West Exodus train station. So you have your train tracks running up the middle of it, and then these are your platforms for a big, massive train station fight.
Yeah.
It would just be boom.
Could be a laugh, yeah.
It would be brilliant. Right. That is Warren meets Matt. We're going to go back to the studio.
So a doozy of a mat.
An interesting one.
It is. It's something just very, very different. Ben, right? I'm going to give you the 5-minute mat challenge. So the deep cut mat with the wooden floor. So the entire mat is a beautiful wooden floor. What would you use it for?
Oh, forest. What are you saying? It's got like a woodland forest.
No.
Wooden.
It's wooden. It's a wooden. It's like a wooden floor in a great banquet hall.
Think dance
Oh,
hall.
okay. Wow.
Yeah.
I think that would be awesome for something like Conan. Maybe you could drop it into some Dungeons and Dragons.
Never thought about
You
Conan.
could use it for a little bit of Malifaux, so you could do some sort of skirmishing inside. Maybe it's like a big sort of like a hall somewhere in the middle of Malifaux, somewhere like that. That'd be pretty good.
Malifaux?
You could potentially set up some kind of indoor version of Guild Ball. Maybe they've taken it inside out of the bad weather or something, and they're having a kick-about in a pub or something like that.
Yep.
Be quite fun. What else could you do?
I think we need to have a look at her stars.
You could totally do a big dwarven drinking hall.
No, they're all stone.
No, you get dwarves who'd put down wooden floors as well.
You could have dwarven stuff, I suppose. Vikings, there you go, Viking stuff. You could have a bit of a fight inside, like a mead hall or something like that, maybe. That'd be pretty good. But,
there you have it, right? Even he is able to. He is the best among us, I've got to say. But Ben can come up with the 5-minute mat challenge. So go and take some time and see what you can come up with. Right, Ben. It's time for what the hell's going on in the world?
Well, yes. Kicking things off, we have another mat. This is from the guys at Battlefront. They are obviously bringing out Flames of War 4th Edition very, very soon. And with that, we're going to be getting a huge 6x4 double-sided gaming mat,
Yeah, I was
which
just
will
looking
be
at this.
pretty perfect for sort of desert and European warfare, which is very, very cool.
Oh, nice.
This is new.
Yes, and this is now all starting to make sense. Because we're doing the Flames of War boot camp, and we always do our boot camps on 4x4 squares because it condenses the action. It's a nice learning scheme. And we got this email in from the guys at Battlefront saying, any chance you guys can do 6x4? Now immediately I thought, well, maybe we could do that, but then when we started measuring it, jeepers, the difference. Because the square footage you use up when you do 6x4,
24 feet.
It's huge. It is huge. This must be why, because that is incredible.
It's a nice idea to have it double-sided.
I really love that because you put it like this, right? It has exactly the two sides that any historical war gamer, any Flames of War player, there's everything you need. In one mat.
Yeah.
And then later on you could add something like the deep cut kind of shore D-Day kind of mats and things like that. But for 90% of any game you want to play, it's there.
Yeah, but I'm looking at this and I'm wondering, is that textured on the grass side or is it the printed neoprene?
No,
because you see it's just a little fuzzy on the edge there.
I think from what people have said, it is a proper neoprene mat, so it's all just printed on detail, I think. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, whatever
nice
it is, it looks
Fabulous,
really nice. Now they have more terrain out, Ben, to accompany that. Yeah.
Yeah, so the mat is effectively there to complement their Battlefield in a Box range, which is going to obviously look towards the desert and things because that's the theming of Flames of War 4th Edition. So we're going to have the likes of some desert housing, some really big, nice pieces of terrain like that, some dunes, obviously, because when you're fighting in the desert, it's not just going to be a huge flat expanse. You've got bits and pieces in there for walls and escarpment, so little bits of rock and things for that. Sort of setting up big defenses and whatever.
Look brilliant.
Nice.
They do look very, very cool. And then finishing things off as well, there's obviously a good idea to put a little bit of greenery into the sort of atmosphere as well. So there's some scrub there and some palms too. So this range is going to grow as well. So they've got some plans ahead for lots of other big buildings and things like that. So yeah, lots of interesting things coming on the way for the desert theme in Flames of War 4th Edition, definitely.
Yeah, so. I am really looking forward to this. Now, for any of you guys who are boot campers, we're expecting a bunch of this stuff through to have a look at. So depending on how quickly we can get it, the plan will be to then hobby with it a little bit and see what other stuff we can do with it and so forth. But
look,
but there's everything you need for your desert gaming right there.
Yeah, but if we're doing desert gaming, there's one thing you need to get in.
What's that?
A couple of them. Big bags of kiln-dried sand. Because you see, if you start putting some sand on top of that and blending everything in,
yes,
suddenly everything's just going to sit down into that mat and look really nice.
I couldn't agree more. That'll be one of the first things that we will look at is the blending and the super detailing and stuff like that. They're just to try and tie it all in.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I'm about to go off on a tangent.
Let's
I
rock
do
and roll.
these things right. I watched a very interesting show about the desert.
Yes.
Right. It just reminded me of it. It was about the historical evidence for the Exodus actually taking place.
Okay.
And it was absolutely fascinating. The reason this reminds me of it is because you have shots of a lot of the Middle Eastern deserts and around Egypt and around Canaan and stuff like that there, and this is all kind of like bringing it back to me. But the Exodus itself is so fascinating, right? If you want to take the religious and spiritual side out of it for a moment, because you are into the whole 10 plagues and the parting of the sea and stuff like that there, but.
Plagues?
Yeah. But before all that, just looking at the actual historical evidence, archaeological evidence for the Exodus, you're told that there's none, right? Because they expect that the mainstream archaeologists, all go from a passage in the Bible which says that they were slaves building the city of Ramesses, Ramesses city. So that sets it. You have the Old Kingdom, which is when they build all the pyramids.
Yep.
Okay. You then have the Middle Kingdom,
Right.
Okay, and then you have the New Kingdom. And between each of those are periods where basically Egyptian society kind of collapsed and, and went into ruin and then rose again. So Ramesses was in the New Kingdom. Okay? So they're looking for evidence of the Hebrews and the Israelites and stuff like that there in and around the dig sites and stuff like that is bringing up Ramesses New
stuff,
Kingdom type stuff, Ramesses era stuff. Now Ramesses was a prolific builder, so he's of the pharaohs, he's probably one of the sexiest of the pharaohs.
Right.
Like he was sexy, building loads of sexy stuff, like really beautiful, awesome looking monuments. However, this documentary, it was called Something of Evidence of Exodus. When they started digging into it, they realized that it's not that there's no evidence whatsoever for
the
Semites coming down from Syria, Palestine. They actually found, when they dug deeper than Ramesses, there was a city built before that Ramesses city was built on top of.
Yeah.
And in that city, they found a huge settlement, housing maybe 35,000 Semites. So people coming from that Canaan, where Israel, Palestine is now. And they found them, and they were buried with with sheep and goats, so they were shepherds and stuff like that. So suddenly, whenever they said, well, actually, what if the Exodus didn't take place at Ramesses during that period? What if we actually work at that it actually took place
earlier?
Yeah.
So
suddenly,
we're looking Middle Kingdom.
Suddenly, and this is where it gets really interesting. Egyptian history and biblical history start to line up. Right. Because when you go back to the Middle Kingdom, there's writings from an Egyptian scribe where he talks about the river turning to blood. And that you couldn't drink of the river or you would lose your humanity. He talks about the cattle dying, right? He talks about how the slaves are walking around with gold and emerald necklaces, which which led mainstream archaeologists to go, this guy's just making this shit up. But when you check it against the Torah and the Bible and stuff like that, one of the interesting things in it is apparently Moses said to the Israelites, you go and ask for their riches, because God has ordained you and they will give it to you. So this is why slaves had basically, the slaves had stripped Egypt of all its wealth. And then you have the whole Exodus, so where they leave. But by moving it back that period again, it also ties in with what the archaeological finds that they found in Canaan, because they found Jericho. They knew where Jericho was. So do you remember the story of Jericho? So Jericho is where they had the Ark of the Covenant. Okay. And they marched around it, and then Indiana Jones popped out and went, "Who's me?" And then all the walls fell down. Indiana Jones didn't fall out. They were blowing ram horns. Yes. So they were blowing these ram horns for 7 days, okay?
That's a fair set of bloody lungs.
I'm telling you, for 7 days they marched around Jericho, and Jericho had like a solid wall and then a brick wall on top of it, okay? 7 days they marched around with the Ark of the Covenant blowing on the ram horns. And then the final day they did one big massive blow into the ram horn. Final blast. And the walls came down. Okay? Don't ask me how. The simplest thing you could say is God, baby. But there could be science, or there could have been bombs. I don't know. I don't know how it did. But here's the thing. They did find Jericho. The walls had come down. So the Bible says the walls came down, and then they set fire to Jericho. And then Joshua, because remember in mind, this is 40 years.
How are we onto this?
What?
Sorry, this tangent has just went way off course.
No, I'm going to bring it back.
All right.
I'm going to bring it back. Right, so Joshua, who was the leader of the Israelites by that point, Moses went up a mountain and died, okay? Joshua then cursed the city and said, if anybody tries to rebuild this city, you're cursed. Nobody went near it. The archaeologists found that the walls had fell and then a thick layer of high heat burn deposit on top of it. But it was dated to the Middle Kingdom, not dated to the New Kingdom, so they thought it couldn't possibly have been during the Exodus or what they call the is it the conquering or something like that?
Right.
The conquest. It
Okay.
couldn't possibly have been for the conquest because it was too early.
Mm.
But when in this documentary, when they started to say, well, actually, there's evidence to suggest that this all happened much earlier, and that the Egyptian stuff actually happened a bit later, and it all lined up.
Okay.
And this all took place in the desert that the battlefield in a box stuff reminded me of.
This has been the strangest tangent I have seen on this show in, I think, about 174 episodes.
I should have saved that for Backstage for the Justin Mind Melter. Now I'm going to have to come up with another Justin Mind Melter. If you haven't joined Backstage yet, please do. Come back, watch all of our previous XLBSs, because for a while now, I have a little segment where I melt his mind. But how cool is that?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, like, you see, you're trying to line up stuff to one thing and another and saying this is this and this is this. But is there any writing that says this is this? Is there anything, signage or anything that says, welcome to Jericho?
Actually, well, they know where Jericho was anyway.
Right.
But there is signage, okay? Because the Egyptians were prolific at writing, okay?
Yeah.
So actually, in the New Kingdom, at Ramesses' time, they actually have these huge kind of stone monoliths. I don't know what the Egyptians would have called. No, it's not an obelisk. It is effectively like a big stone block.
Yeah.
Okay. And on that, apparently the pharaohs were really into boasting. Okay. The pharaohs loved laying it on thick that they are the hairy dog's bollocks, right? And on these tablets is all of the societies and cities that the pharaohs have kicked the ass of. And here on it is Israel, that they've conquered, and that they control Israel. Now, the chances are that they didn't. They're just saying it in the tablet to make themselves feel better.
Yeah.
But it was the fact that Israel even existed whenever at that point, according to mainstream archaeology, the Exodus would have only just taken place at that point.
Yeah.
There wouldn't have been an Israel.
So basically, Ramesses has came along in the New Kingdom and went, well, those used to be our slaves. Let's go see what we can do here. And got his ass kicked and went back home, possibly.
Well, no. I think what has happened is I kind of inclined to believe that the Exodus and stuff like that did take place earlier in history.
That's
and
possible.
that I think, looking at the evidence, it looks like the Egyptian timeline has been extended a little bit too much and needs to be compacted a little bit.
Okay.
And I think it all makes more sense. The thing is, mainstream archaeologists, the same with a lot of mainstream, are very reluctant to accept that, because it would mean that they'd have to rewrite a lot of their books. It's but it was absolutely fascinating, and I think that any Flames of War player should study that, so that they because remember, Indiana Jones and the Nazis fought over that Ark of the Covenant, so you need to know its history, dudes. There.
Or if you want to make an incredibly cool desert table, you could do some pyramids and perhaps the Sphinx.
Pyramids.
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 Yes. Right. Okay.
Onward.
I'm finished bullshitting now. Let's move on. Ben, what have I got next?
So the next stuff that we're going to be looking at is from the guys at Scale 75, and this is a couple of new heroes, or 4 new heroes that have been released for Fallen Frontiers. Now, this was a game that was on Kickstarter, it did exceptionally well. I think actually it might have been an Indiegogo. It was one of those funding platforms anyway.
Yeah.
But it sort of came out last year, and it's done exceptionally well. People have really been loving the game and stuff. And now the 4 factions have got a couple of new heroes, and they're starting to churn out a bit more for the game in terms of troops and stuff as well. So, yeah, here we've got one for each of them. So, leading the way with Isaiah or Ishan.
Yeah, we're already on to Silas Fenn.
Yes.
He looks bad ass.
Yeah, these guys are the faction that I would definitely go for, the Riff, if I was going to get stuck into Fallen Frontiers.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really love the look of their alien design and stuff. So you can really tell that they've sort of taken a lot of their sort of skills that they've used for making their bigger models and translated it down to the smaller ones, and they just look fantastic. They're all in really cool poses and everything as well, so very, very good indeed.
The Harvester looks mean too, doesn't it?
I think that's Despair.
Despair.
Yeah, it's Despair of the Harvesters. They're a sort of very strange and interesting sort of faction that sort of take a lot of people take out their brains and mess around with their insides and turn them into sort of biomechanical sort of undead creatures effectively. But yeah, it's very, very strange with these guys.
You're laughing. Wait, Justin's laughing, and I know exactly why. We need a speech bubble here during that, because he's laughing thinking they take out their brains. Oh, I'm safe.
Harsh. Well played.
But yeah, something that came up in the comments for this as well is that our friend Chris Handley, Dr. Ether, is very, very much into his Fallen Frontiers, and he's been playing it a lot. And Red Ben was like, whenever you're next over to do some Kingdom Death stuff, you should film some Fallen Frontiers as well. So maybe that's something we can arrange, potentially.
Yeah.
Oh,
I believe...
if we have time, because as soon as Chris is here, it's going to be Kingdom Death.
Kingdom Death, yeah. I believe we actually have our next filming schedule for Kingdom Death now in the diary. So
I can't wait.
So yeah, March time we should start to see the continuation of our little settlement and see how John and Sarah. Yeah, we'll see how John and Sarah.
I demand rebirth.
Get over the brutal killing of Warren and Justin and Chris. Which one of us had our heads explode?
I had my arm ripped off.
Yep.
Oh God.
You took it in the chest, and I think Chris got his head blown off.
Chris got his head blown.
I think that's the way it went. If I'm wrong, sorry, post below.
Yeah. Okay, next up we have some Dark Age.
Ooh. Yeah, so Dark Age continuing into the new year with some new releases. The first thing out of the cage, is a new core starter box. So for those people who really like their big machines that have turned against you and stuff, then these guys are looking very, very cool indeed.
Lovely.
Lots and lots of interesting models in here. You can go and take a close look at it. They've also got a set of cards that came out with this as well. So if you want to pick up the accessories for that to sort of supplement it and see where you want to go next with your force as well, there's all those bits and pieces. But yet again, the Shadow Cast is also getting their sort of time in the sun, as it were. And we've got some really, really amazing new models coming out for them, including the Huntress, which just looks fantastic. We saw it last year at Gen Con.
Yeah, we actually have one here in the office.
Looks even cooler now. So yeah, very, very good indeed.
Yeah, it's a beautiful model that actually does come with that scenic base.
Yeah.
Beautiful piece. Yeah, and then a whole bunch of other characters mixed in here as well. We've got the Spirit Lord of Shadow. My favourite is Havoc. I just love the look of the model. It looks fantastic. And I love the idea that these characters are sort of very much in... They love the throes of battle, and they're really interested in the bloodletting of it all. So they're very, very strange and interesting creatures, effectively. One person pointed out that it looks very much like a character from Farscape, if anybody remembers that.
Yep.
So if you know Farscape and Scorpio, maybe you are seeing some kind of thing there going on. But yeah, very, very cool. And then finally, we've got some of the Spear Slaves, who are another one of their sort of attempts to sort of revitalize the aesthetic of the game and
that is a massive
sort of
improvement.
older models and turn them into something new. But yeah, very, very cool indeed.
That's a beautiful sculpt and a real improvement over the previous ones. Where the modernization of the Dark Age line is just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it's exactly what it needed.
Yeah, and they're doing such a good job of it. Because you could have modernized it and maybe not noticed. Or they could have modernized it just by adding loads of stuff.
It's the fact that they're happy to go back to those original core miniatures and reimagine them.
Yeah.
Which it really sets it apart. Because, to go back and redo work is not something easy to do. Because you think, oh, well, we've already done that, but we can make it better.
Yeah.
And they have done. They really have done.
Well, our final piece of news is, do you remember that Flames of War mat?
Yep.
Flip to the green side, and you can use some of these. These are Polish houses coming soon from Foreground.
Yeah, so these are to sort of bolster up the 28mm World at War range that Foreground do. Up to this point, they've been doing a lot of stuff that would be, very fitting for Normandy and France and things like that, and the urban environments. But now they're changing to look a little bit more towards the rural.
Yeah.
And so coming very, very soon indeed, there will be both a house and a cottage that are done up in this sort of Polish style. So you can have these out there in the woodlands or, near farmsteads and things, out there in the back end of Beyond, being fought over by people and stuff. And they have all the, features that you'd imagine the foreground building would have. You got really finely detailed interiors, working doors. The plaster stuff can actually be changed to make it look as damaged or as undamaged as you want. So that's a nice little detail as well. And they even said they've even put a little tiny oven inside each of the different houses, so that you've got something that your sort of soldiers can be camped around as they get ambushed or something potentially.
One of the things
very cool.
one of the things that I love is the roof braces. I suppose you would call the gable
barge
ends.
boards.
Barge boards, that's it. The barge boards on the end. The detail, the beautiful detail, and I love the choice of color. That beautiful blue. Do you know that there's a pigment? I think I'm right on this one. In Romania, there's a graveyard.
Right.
Okay, and there's churches that have a blue pigment in it.
Yeah.
That is a very, very rare pigment.
Right.
Okay. So it's lovely to see that kind of it's almost like an electric blue pigment, because that is the kind of pigment that you would have seen out in Eastern Europe and stuff like that there. And I think it's lovely. It just adds a really nice touch to it.
One of the things they were saying is that this kind of building style and the way that the buildings are presented here is something that would have been back as far as the Napoleonic period. So you could use these houses from anything from the Napoleonic Wars all the way up to the modern day as well. So if you wanted to do some stuff, in the sort of by fire and sword era of history and things like that, you could almost look down that route and pick up some really cool models and do some sort of more mass battle stuff around these buildings instead, if you wanted to.
I wonder, could you do something along the lines of Blucher's Prussians, maybe in an engagement.
Maybe if there's something in history
with
for it.
Napoleon. Well, I know Napoleon fought the Russians, okay, and the winter beat him. So same as Hitler.
Same as anyone that tries to invade Russia.
Yeah, it's the weather that got him. But I wonder, I must look into what engagements took place in and around Poland, because that's a fascinating idea.
Well, I mean, as you say, this sort of look of the buildings would work for a lot of the different Slavic countries as well. So even if there was stuff taking place in Ukraine or anything like that, you could almost use these buildings to kind of show off that look and style and design as well. So yeah, be good.
Cool.
Awesome stuff. Yeah. Well, that's your lot for the news this week. We're now going to take a very quick break to tell you about some of the amazing hubs that we have on Beasts of War. Remember, hubs are kind of like homes for games on Beasts of War, where all of the content of that game is stored centrally, and you can go in and you can browse through it and find loads and loads of cool stuff about a game maybe you've never tried or a game that you love. After the break, we're going to be back with Jamie and Bryce. Yep. Justin is going to be getting a chat with them about the game that we're giving 5 copies away of this week. It is, of course, Shadow Games.
Or Shadow Games, sorry. I got it back front.
If you're interested, stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Become a general of mighty armies at the Kings of War Hub. Take command of elves, dwarves, and orcs in this game of massed fantasy combat on beastsofwar.com. Fight for the Iron Kingdoms as a warcaster. Take control of the mighty jacks, arcane devices, and dark sorceries to bring the fight to the War Machine Hub on beastsofwar.com.
Everybody, as you can see, I'm joined in the studio by 2 fantastic guests. We have the guys from Steamforged in the studio. This is Bryce and Jamie, and today we're having a quick look at Shadow Games, isn't it?
It is Shadow Games, yes. It's our sort of small card game that was set in the world of Guild Ball.
Yes. Now, as you can probably guess, with the guys over, yes, we are having a look at lots of Guild Ball. Woo! But we wanted to show this one off very quickly because it's a cool little game that you guys brought across to us that you wanted to show off. So can you give me a quick overview of what this game is?
Yeah, so it's a sort of a bluffing and deception game where you are trying to, as a guild representative, secure the new star player. And to do that, you need to get a bunch of resources.
Yeah. Yeah, you see, this is a game that I think Warren will enjoy playing with me because you get to play mind games with your opponents.
Yes, you do.
And he loves playing mind games. So let's quickly crack open the box. So it's actually a very pretty little box, so I'll just hold it quickly here so you can see it. It's very, very nice. Yeah. Once you open it, there's not really much inside, but there doesn't need to be for the game to actually work really well.
I mean, the intent is it's a sort of small, like a kind of travel game, you know.
Yeah.
Like it's not.
So if we're sitting on the train and we're like a half-hour journey, you can knock one of these games out.
Exactly.
Even a couple if your mates are really sneaky. Yeah. But you'll get these cards to start with. So what are these?
So these are your player boards. They show you all the cards that are in the game, how many cards there are, and what their effects are. So you see on one side you've got plots, on one side you've got agents. And the space in the middle shows you what guild you're representing. There's no difference between them, it's just aesthetics. And it gives you a place to store your favour.
Yeah. So this is just a little control board that actually makes you look down and go, did he play 2 strategy sessions yet?
Yeah.
All right, you then get a little deck of cards. It's quite a short deck, so you're not really going to have too much problems actually remembering the stuff. And in here you've got some really nice artwork. So you've got your plots.
Yep.
And you've got your agents.
Yep.
And each one has an ability, which if you call it true, you get, and if you call it bluff, you get that plus the one you called?
Yes, yeah. So let's say in that example you used the Union Picket and you bluffed that you were actually playing Wheeling and Dealing.
Yeah.
If you successfully bluffed, you'd do Wheeling and Dealing as normal.
Yeah.
And you'd get the bluff bonus on the card that you used to lie with.
Yeah. And so target player loses 1 favor of their choice. And I'm assuming that these are the favor, the little coloured cube, yeah?
Yes, yeah. So they represent the guild favor, team favor, and union favor. And that's the orange, green, and blue.
Yes.
The last couple of things we get in here, if I flip this over, is you have enough of these for a 6-player game, or is it a 5-player game? 5-player
6
game.
players.
Six.
Oh,
yeah, 6,
away,
because there's one there.
Yeah.
So you and 6 mates can muck about with this. You also get one little set of tokens.
Yep.
Now, these are just little protection tokens, yeah?
Yes, yep. So if you manage to get one of these from the, what's it called, pay 'em off, then you are immune to enemy agents.
Yeah.
Well, it's a really fun looking little game. The rule book is absolutely tiny. You will learn to play this in maybe, 5-10 minutes?
Even calling it a rule book is it's a rules pamphlet. More
Yeah.
than
Rules pamphlet, if we're going to be precise about it.
One page of that's FAQs.
Yeah.
But yeah, so do you fancy having a game?
I'll tell you what, we'll actually call it for this segment.
Yeah.
'Cause I would like to actually film the game separately.
Okay, yeah, sure thing.
I want to get at least one game of this in with you guys first so I know how to play. So I'm not just learning on camera and you guys just,
perfect
say,
sense.
oh, we're visiting Beast of War, let's beat them at a game.
Yeah.
All right, so guys, tell you what, keep your eyes out for this. It'll be coming out very soon. We'll move on back to the rest of the Weekender.
Humanity has been driven from Earth, but now it's time to take it back. Join the Reconquest and fight the Scourge on the Drop Zone Commander Hub at beastsofwar.com. Anime cyberpunk style meets skirmish combat in Infinity. Experience 8 high-tech factions and fight to control the human sphere at the Infinity Hub on beastsofwar.com.
Okay, so remember, on Monday, we're going to have a Let's Play of Shadow Games.
Yeah, although from the sound of it, Warren, this is going to be a game you're going to love to play on the road.
Yes.
But we'll see.
Yeah. Right, stay tuned. Come over to beastsofwar.com on the Monday and check out the Let's Play. And it's a great little game. We were listening to them filming, and the guffawing and laughing coming out of this room was nothing normal. They were having altogether too much fun. We're not allowed to have
Without
sort of
you.
stuff in here.
No, without you. If you'd been there, I'm sure it would have been even louder.
Right. This is the time, of the show where we're going to look at the Kickstarters. And one of the most exciting Kickstarters for me has just come on the scene out of nowhere.
Right.
I wasn't expecting it. I had no clue that it was on the way, and then it just arrived. Let me put this into some sort of perspective. Back in the days of the Amiga.
Yes. This is old school gaming.
Yeah. In fact, even before that, back in the days, I think it was the Commodore 64 and etc. There was a game called Elite. Okay.
Right.
And Elite was a space trading game. Okay. Where you basically were flying around a galaxy.
Yeah.
And you were picking up supplies and trading supplies and fighting off aliens and stuff like that there. It was good, and it had a great following. Then, I was still a bit young to try and understand it and stuff like that there, so I didn't get a massive amount of playtime on that. However, my heart will always lie with a game called Frontier. Okay,
Right.
Which was the follow-up to Elite, which was a beautiful game. So it was 3D.
Right.
I'm pretty sure it was on the PC.
Okay.
And Frontier, you actually had your 3D spaceships. And it was sold at the time by this amazing procedural technology where you could fly from a point in space towards a planet, keep going towards the planet, fly through the atmosphere of the planet, fly up to a city on the planet, fly up to a spaceport in the city of the planet, and then land.
Right.
Now, bearing in mind, there was no games really like this at the time. The closest we had was, what was the game, Ben, that Mark Hamill did the voice acting for.
What year are we in right now?
The year way back. I think it was called Wing Commander.
Homeworld? Wing
no,
Commander?
it was Wing Commander. Wing Commander was amazing as well. But anyway, this game here, it was just the vastness. You could, if you had the time, just fly from one planet to another planet, and the whole thing was seamless. There was no stopping and loading and stuff like that. It was all generated kind of procedurally.
Right.
Wonderful, wonderful game. Okay, and I spent many hours. There was nights. I'm really sad. Okay, I was young. There was nights that I put it on, and I set my spaceship to fly somewhere, and I would go to sleep just listening to my spaceship. I know that's really sad,
but were you targeting it somewhere that it would fly all night until you woke up in the morning and then arrive?
Oh, it could fly for days. You had a complete galaxy that you could kind of go through.
What year was this released?
Oh, back in the way early 90s. Okay. So it was that thing of commanding a small spaceship, and then you could upgrade it and get bigger ships and stuff like that.
You may want to try EVE Online.
No, I'll get addicted to that, and then you would never see me.
Just play Elite Dangerous.
Yes, this is what we're going to say. Elite Dangerous. There is a new video game for Elite. It's called Elite Dangerous.
Okay.
It looks absolutely fabulous.
It's very, very good. I
have stayed clear because, again, I have an addictive personality. If I get stuck in that, you'll never see me on a weekender for months. And I can't have that. But this is the role-playing game of Elite Dangerous.
I see.
So I've done enough slabbering. Ben, please tell us a bit about this. Oh, I'm so excited.
So this is the RPG, as you mentioned there, by Spider-Mind Games. Now, they've taken the Elite Dangerous universe, which is vast, as you've mentioned, and they've condensed it down into this awesome-looking role-playing game. The system is very, very simple. It runs off a really nice D10 mechanic. You just roll the D10, add your stat, and that's basically it. There's no really weird, complicated maths going on or anything like that. But the whole idea is that you get to play basically whoever you want. You could be policemen, you could be pirates, traders, soldiers, assassins, whatever you wanted to do. And you follow the rules of effectively what Elite Dangerous is. Go out into the galaxy, make your fortune, get a bigger ship, get a bigger ship, and stuff like that. Explore planets, do trading hubs and things like that, attack trading vessels as they're going through space and all sorts of different things and just this game looks fantastic. I had a little look through the sort of print and play PDF that they put together for this game, and they've broken down things really, really nicely into the whole a bunch of different systems that are on show here. Two of the big things that I really, really liked about this is how they've actually approached ship combat and vehicle combat. Now, a lot of role-playing games out there would look at ship combat and vehicle combat, and they do things with hex grids and stuff like that. But they've tried to adopt a little bit more of a free-form attitude to this, where you just have like up close and then sort of at range, effectively. And there are different really cool maneuvers that you can do and things like that. And you can fire all your weapons and the shields and pulse lasers and missiles and mines and all sorts of different things. But then this is all done in a very, very simple and easy way, so it's nice and cinematic and everything, which is fantastic. And then they've also done something else. That
Wait, Ben. I'm totally getting shades of Galaxy Quest right now. They're termites. Fire your photon potatoes. Fire all your lasers. Right, we're done. Okay.
One of the other really cool, interesting things, talking about Galaxy Quest and stuff like that, there are a lot of sci-fi games out there that do things to do with ships, and normally you'd be part of a crew and say you're the engineer or you're the science officer. And the thing that really struck the guys that created the Elite Dangerous game is that more often than not in these kind of games, if you're the engineer and there's not something to do with engineering, you don't get to really do a lot.
Exactly.
And so what they've done with this is that everybody gets their own ship. Because in the world of Elite, FTL travel and stuff is very, very prominent, and it's very, very cheap. So everyone gets their own kind of interceptor. They get their own sort of buggy that could go onto the surface of planets and stuff. And so it's all about this ship being part of you and part of your character. And it gives you that sense of independence that you might not necessarily get when it comes to crews and sort of the way that other sci-fi games have been put together. But yeah, just some fantastic things going on with this. They've got the rulebook that they're trying to fund. I'm actually backing it to get it because the game just looks fantastic.
Yep.
All right, Simon, you've taken the plunge, man.
Oh, I am not surprised.
Yeah.
I love that. That ability to have my own ship. It would be perfect because I'm sorry, Justin. I love you, mate. But I could never share a ship with you. The thought of walking in to the bridge and finding your pants hanging off my main throttle would And drive me mad.
Well, you're telling me you wouldn't be happy to have a little two-seater?
No way, no way. I want my own
fine,
ship.
Fine,
okay?
you can put me in the garbage.
So
can.
Ben, does this mean like I have my own ship? I'm telling my own crew what to do, I'm we're Star Trekking.
The idea of Elite Dangerous is that your ships more often than not are one-man ships, maybe two-man at the most.
Yeah.
So it's effectively like having like a car, I guess you'd say.
Yes.
In terms of looking at it in the Elite Dangerous way, but you work together with another group of people, but. And you go on adventures and you do missions and things, but their whole sort of premise is that because the world of Elite is so vast, and nowadays when it comes to role-playing groups, it's really hard to get everybody together to do things all the time at the same time every week. This allows you to have people go off and do their own thing, then come back, and you don't feel beholden to the rest of the other people there, like you would do with the crew and things. So it's sort of to try and give a little bit more sort of flexibility to your role-playing sessions, effectively.
So me and you could get together, right?
Yeah.
Fly in formation, sexy style for a while.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And then we could go off and you could RPG out into other parts of the galaxy, and then we could get back together, share old war stories, and then fly around in sexy kind of formation again.
One of the other really big things that they've tried to do here as well is they've tried to keep it as close to the game as possible. So for people who really, really love Elite, there's a lot of the sort of nitty-gritty built into there in terms of ship designs and the upgrading of ships. One of the big things they talked about is how that you can sort of you can faster than light travel together as one, being led by one person and sort of going through spaces, warping together. Or you could go individually and say, I don't care, you're going to be too slow, I'm going to try and get ahead of you and stuff. So there's lots of interesting little bits and pieces put in there for people to really enjoy who love Elite and stuff like that. So yeah.
And the beauty of Elite is it Justin, it is so vast. It is effectively like a blank canvas.
I'm just wondering how the DM is going to control that. If you and me are playing the game,
is there even a need? Like the DM could have his own ship in this.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's one of the things where you could almost swap around DMs every time you wanted to come together for a session of this. But the idea is that these people might have their independence in terms of their ships and their jobs and the things they do every day. But you're brought together by a common purpose in terms of character development and stuff. You sit there and you tie people together with like nice backstories and things, and then it becomes about the characters going on their adventures together. That's a thing. But
it's not what he's on about, apparently, right?
Yes,
so what are you on about?
Is Ben has said that you can play games and you can just peel off from each other and go exploring.
Yes.
That would drive a DM insane. I'm on this planet and this planet at the same time trying to run two adventures.
No. He's talking about joining different gaming groups.
Okay,
you just take your profile and stuff with you, and
then for example, if I can only make every third session, that everyone else is going to be way ahead of me.
No, not necessarily. Let Ben explain.
All right. So what you do in that case, say for example, you can turn up to a couple of sessions over a couple of weeks, right? You would then sit down with the DM, say it was me, and we go through your own cool solo stuff. So they've had their adventures and they've played together. I've sat down with you and we've played through our own little solo adventures. So when it comes back to you joining the group and doing a joint mission together, you're not left out. You're not falling behind. You've got your own stories. You've got your own backstory. You've done some really cool things and stuff like that as well. So
sorry, I just saw DM sitting there going, "What the hell?"
Imagine working this up with the video game, right? So when you're not playing this, you're playing the video game, but you utilize the same character,
possibly,
and you come back with your stories, but you've played them out on the video game. It's incredible. It's incredible. I'm so excited about it. 24 days left. Spider-Mind Games, Elite Dangerous. Go and check it out. And and if you loved Frontier, ding my dong. Because I love Frontier as well. Okay,
shameless.
Right. Our last Kickstarter for this morning is Smog, Rise of the Moloch. Only 12 days to go, Ben. What's it about?
Yeah, so this is another one of the big Cool Mini or Not one versus many games. In this one, it's for 2 to 5 players. One person will be taking on the role of the Nemesis, who takes on the character of the Cult. They're this strange organization that are trying to sort of, work in the background to bring down society, and they mess around with strange, interesting things called using ether, which is this energy in the game that rises people up from the dead and uses them as a workforce and things like that. that. The other people will be playing as the gentlemen or ladies of the Unicorn Club, and they are effectively a little bit like the sort of I can't remember what the name of the film is now. Extraordinary Gentlemen, that one, where it's all these people with fantastic powers and abilities and strange, weird weapons and stuff working together to try and fight the cult and take them out and stuff like that. And the way that the game comes together is that you play through what are called chapters. And these chapters are a huge arcing narrative that will be put together a little bit like a play. And so you'll play out a little bit of a scenario on the stage, as it were. And then you'll move into intermissions where you'll make big key decisions. Maybe you'll buy things and stuff. And then you'll move on through different story chapters and play out each of the different encounters, as it were, fighting against different members of the cult until you eventually get towards the final boss and you fight them and the story comes to an end. But yeah, there are some fantastic looking miniatures based in this. Really nice looking mechanics built into this too. As you would expect with Cool Mini or Not Now, they've really got their handle on their mechanics for a lot of their games. One of the big things, actually, as that I mentioned before, is Ether. Now, this is sort of the resource, effectively, that the players can use to do a lot of their abilities. So a lot of their weapons will use Ether, a lot of their powers will use it as well. For example, the werewolf might use it to power himself up to sort of tear people apart and things. But every time you use Ether as the gentleman, that gets transferred over to the Nemesis player, so he can use it against you once you've used it yourself, which is very, very cool indeed. The same kind of thing happens when it comes to the sort of intermission periods between the chapters where you're fighting and stuff, where you can spend a lot of your experience and things like that to pick up weapons and make yourself better or maybe take a different path and things. All of those resources used then can then also be used by the Nemesis once you've spent them all, to buy new cards, maybe make something happen in the next encounter, maybe change the fate of everything, going forward and stuff. So it's all about sort of that risk and reward. Do you make yourself better at the risk of the Nemesis being better? Do you sort of taper a little bit? Maybe buy a couple of new weapons, but then maybe don't take it too far, so the Nemesis doesn't have lots and lots of tools and bits and pieces to play against you with. But yeah, some good stuff going on here.
Interesting. The art style is really nice.
Isn't it? I love that whole kind of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen kind of thing. I'm actually a big fan of the movie. I'm a huge fan of the movie.
Well,
the whole Captain Nemo kind of feel and the ornateness of the period. It's just beautiful. And like we've seen Smog many years ago. It was a 54mm game.
Oh yeah.
But Cool Mini or Not are going to set it on fire.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to this.
They've actually dived into this. They've actually dived into this a little bit before in the past when they did another Kickstarter which is called On Your Majesty's Service.
Yes.
And that was looking at in a sort of a bit more of a board game form, as it were. But this is taking things to the next level. They've got the big miniatures and the massive characters and stuff. Interestingly as well, one of the big things that they've been looking at here is that while they're also working on the core game, they have already planned out what the first expansion is going to be, which is called The Embassy. And this is about your heroes trying to escape from an infested police station into the sewers where you're fighting against strange mutant horrors. One of the big things in the game is that during the sort of basic base game, you'll be going insane and being asked to sort of deal with horrors and stuff. In this one, you also get mutations thrown into the mix as well, so your heroes might get changed into weird and strange creations as you go. But yeah, some really good stuff, and they've been working on some amazing artwork and miniatures and stretch goals and stuff to look forward to. Yeah.
Fantastic. Look, Ben, thank you for taking us through that. Okay, guys, that wraps us up. Please consider coming across and joining Backstage. We have a ton of great Backstage stuff going on at the moment. And tomorrow morning on the XLBS, I'm going to be talking about our next event after the Flames of War event.
All right, so if they're wanting to get their first bite at the cherry for this next one...
Well, we're not selling it tomorrow, but I'm going to be talking about what it is. We're going for something different. Okay, we're shaking up the format a little bit for this next one. And we're going to try and shake up the format a couple of times this year. So is that we're doing other kinds of stuff other than the boot camp format. We will have more boot camps on the way, but we've got a couple of surprises up our sleeve just to shake things up. So we'll be talking about that with Backstagers tomorrow. Remember that Backstage keeps the light on. Dinging my dong helps. Okay, so if you can't join Backstage, ding on my dong, please. But Backstage is what keeps the lights on and allows us to be able to do what we do. They give us our independence. They give us just that ability to stand up as a community and, resist all the forces and just enjoy the games. And we as a community pretty much owe everything to Backstagers, because if they weren't there, there would be nothing. There'd be no front stage, there'd be no weekenders, there'd be nothing. So if this is something that you enjoy week in, week out, we would say to you, please consider coming across, joining Backstage to help support what goes out front stage, and to get a whole pile more of what goes out front stage Backstage. So once again, at the very least, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you very much for taking the time to watch. It's always great to be able to spend our Saturday mornings with you. Hopefully, we'll see as many of you as possible tomorrow morning over at beastsofwar.com. But until we see you again, have a great week of gaming.
It's time for 28mm World War II action. Will you recreate history or reshape it your way? On the Bolt Action Hub at beastsofwar.com. From Viking halls to the cities of the future, terrain buffs will love our foreground hub. Watch gaming tables of all genres come to life at beastsofwar.com.